All right, today we are digging into a truly incredible story from World War II, one that's been overlooked for way too long, all based on the amazing work of author Mary Crunk Farrell. This is about a group of women who weren't just fighting a war overseas, they were fighting another one for basic dignity right inside their own army. So let me ask you something. When you picture World War II, what comes to mind? Probably tanks, right? Airplanes, epic battles. But what if I told you that one of the most vital weapons, something the entire war effort depended on, wasn't a weapon at all? You got it. For millions of soldiers, thousands of miles from everything they knew, a simple letter was a lifeline. Seriously, it was their connection to family, to a normal life, to the very reason they were fighting. Mail was morale. And without morale, an army just stops.
But here's the thing. There was a huge problem. That mail wasn't getting through. And the women who were tasked with fixing this, well, they weren't just up against a logistical nightmare. They were fighting their own war, a war for respect, inside the very institution they signed up to serve.
So who exactly were these women? To really get their story, we've got to go back to the beginning, back when a brand new, kind of uncertain door opened for American women who wanted to serve their country. Right in the middle of World War II, the Army created something totally new, the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, or WAIC for short. The whole idea was to have women take over essential jobs behind the lines, to free up more men for combat. Now, this was a pretty radical concept at the time, and it attracted some really remarkable people. And the women who enlisted, especially the African American women, they knew it wasn't going to be easy. They knew they'd face prejudice. But they were, as our source material puts it, just incredibly courageous and adventurous. They signed up to serve a country that didn't always serve them, basically stepping into the great unknown to prove they belonged. And yeah, that courage was put to the test immediately. Their service put them in this unbelievable position, having to fight a war on two completely different fronts. This really says it all, doesn't it? On one hand, their official mission was all about fighting for freedom around the world, but on the other hand, their daily reality was confronting systemic racism inside their own military. They were fighting for a country that was enforcing segregation, even among its soldiers. And this wasn't some abstract concept. This was their life, day in and day out. We're talking separate barracks, separate mess halls. They were even assigned menial jobs like scrubbing floors. It didn't matter what their skills or education were. They were treated like second-class soldiers, plain and simple. But these women, they were not about to be passive victims. No way. They fought back. They organized. They went straight to their commanding officers to protest unfair jobs. And when that didn't work, they reached out to Black newspapers and civil rights leaders to get the word out. They were risking serious punishment to demand the basic respect they had earned. And it was this exact spirit, this absolute determination, that would come to define their most important mission. So let's talk about the unique unit they formed and the massive job they were given overseas. And you just can't tell this story without talking about their leader, Major Charity Adams. By the end of the war, she became the highest-ranking African-American woman in the entire U.S. military. I mean, what an incredible testament to her leadership. So under her command was the 6888th Central Postal Directory Battalion, better known as the 6888. Think about this. They were the only all-black, all-female battalion sent overseas during the whole war. And their mission? It was huge. They had to clear a backlog of millions upon millions of letters and packages for soldiers in Europe. And what a challenge it was. When they got there, they found these massive, rat-infested warehouses just overflowing, stacked to the ceiling with mail. We're talking a backlog that was years old. And to make it even harder, a lot of the mail was barely addressed, sometimes just to Robert or Junior. They basically had to become detectives to figure out where each piece of mail was supposed to go. The amount of work they did was just staggering. The women of the 6888 worked around the clock in 3 shifts, 24/7. On average, they processed 65,000 pieces of mail every single shift. Get this, the Army thought the job would take 6 months. They did it in 3. So, their success wasn't just about sorting mail. The impact they had rippled out far beyond those warehouses. Let's wrap up by looking at the incredible legacy they left behind. So why is this story so important? Well, first off, their work directly boosted the morale of the entire Allied forces. But it was so much more than that. Their incredible efficiency and discipline just completely shattered the racist and sexist stereotypes of the day.
Their success became this powerful, undeniable argument for desegregating the military. They proved that what makes a good soldier is skill and dedication, not your color or your gender.
And here's the part that's really poignant. In Europe, the women of the 6888th were often treated like heroes, welcomed as equals by the local people they helped liberate. It was just such a painful, stark contrast to how they were treated by their own military and what was waiting for them back home. The author who brought this story to light, Mary Cronk Farrell, said her goal is to shine a light in shadowy, forgotten corners. And that's exactly what the story of the 6888 is. It's this incredible testament to courage that was almost totally lost to history, but one that really empowers all of us to see injustice and to use our own voices. And that really leaves us with one last big question. The heroism of the 6888th was ignored and forgotten for decades. It just makes you wonder, how many other heroes are out there? How many other stories of people whose contributions were just as vital have been left in the shadows of our history books?